Hi peeps. Oh my gosh, it is so hot here in New England and I have the windows closed and the fan off so that I can record this and you guys can hear me. So I apologize for the fact that I'm hot and sweaty. But anyhow, so many of you have asked me to do this video and I'm very, very excited to be able to share my thoughts and opinions on Into the Lonely Woods by Lucy Cavendish with artwork by Dan May. And I just have to flip the back over. So this is what the inside of the box looks like. I love this color. I love these tones. They just really do it for me. So I'm a big fan of that. But I'm going to read you the back so that you can get an idea of what the deck is saying that it's offering for you. So the little key phrase here is blessings and messages for times of solitude and isolation. Venture into the lonely woods and find the greatest gift of all, your true self. Motorcycle, sorry guys. Okay. Come to the lonely woods when you feel isolated, distanced from loved ones, or wish to embrace quiet, peaceful spaces within a noisy, hurried world. Here you are welcomed with comfort, inspiration, and compassionate guidance. You will come to know an enriching solitude, where you can heal, grow, and journey through your inner wilderness in a beautiful encounter with your untamed, untrammeled self. This tender, empathetic oracle includes 45 exquisite cards and a 104-page guidebook with hauntingly accurate messages and clear layouts to answer the questions of your soul. Spellbinding imagery by Dan May and wise, heartfelt text by Lucy Cavendish weave together to bring you into a deep, nourishing relationship with the divine within. With hope, kindness, and honest, spirit-led guidance, this unique deck acknowledges the struggles of the human spirit and offers a pathway of light through the lonely woods of our lives. So, that is the description on the back of the box. Here is the guidebook, traditional Blue Angel Gallery size. And then here are the cards themselves. Nice matte cardstock that we've come to expect from Blue Angel. One of you very lovingly told me that this is a Datura flower featured on the backing, and that is a excuse me, I thought it was a death's head moth, but no, it's just a moth, it looks like on the back there. So that's what the backings of the cards look like. Traditional, again, Blue Angel size cardstock. Here's an example from the El-Key Tarot just to give you a size comparison there. And then the cardstock that I absolutely love from them. So as far as the guidebook, you're gonna receive a card representation in black and white, and then about a paragraph or two about the card itself. Very different from how Lucy has typically created her card meanings. These card meanings are not confusing, and there isn't too much information. So if you are in a space where you're dealing with anxiety, depression, going through a hard time, in need of support, in need of consolation and compassion, you're not going to find the card meanings too overwhelming. She has a whole section on how to work with the cards and a discussion about times of loneliness and solitude. There's some beautiful just quotes and kind of like an offering of a sense of understanding and compassion for those times when we do feel isolated and alone. And especially with everything that happened with COVID and has happened and is continuing to happen, many of us really experience those times. And this is a deck that's very encouraging and empathetic in regards to that. So I'm going to show you some of the imagery while I talk about the deck. I love the artwork. I love the deck itself. I cannot say enough about how kind and gentle this deck is. And its kindness and gentleness means that it's like a best friend that's really there for you, but also when you're really feeling like you don't want to deal with something, it may not be a deck that you turn to in that moment in regards to something that you don't want to deal with, because it is so loving but clear and truthful and honest. And it's almost like the gentleness is more intense than if the deck had smacked you upside the head, if that makes sense. And so if you really are going through something and you're in resistance to like the experience You may have to work with this deck a little bit to see the love within it, or no, not to see the love within it, to allow yourself to receive the love within it. That's how I want to say this, because I don't mean to say that this deck is difficult. It's not. It's supremely loving. It's super gentle. It's super compassionate, and it's very wise and understanding. And if you're not offering that to yourself, it really shows you how harsh you're being towards yourself. So this is a deck that I don't use constantly, but that I can't imagine not having in my collection already. I love the gentleness and the kindness of this deck. We really don't have a lot of decks like this out there in the pagan world, I feel, for those of us who collect decks and work with decks all the time. We really don't. And I think we should have more decks like this. And I hope that we will. And so this is a very, very unique deck. So if you're on the fence about purchasing this, I say go for it, because I don't think that you're going to be disappointed in any way, shape, or form. It's very unique. It is not a typical Lucy deck. So if you're not a Lucy Cavendish deck fan, you're not going to automatically dislike this deck. It does exactly what it was designed to do, and it's just so gentle and compassionate, and so I love this deck. That being said, I don't read from it every day, but when I'm going through times where I feel like I need compassion and understanding, or that I need to offer that to myself, I find that this is a deck that I turn to. And something really magical has happened in readings over the last few months, where there are occasionally querents and clients that this deck will like to offer a blessing to at the end, a final message for them of love and support on their path. And so I would say to you guys that this deck is at the same level as the Weaver's Oracle for me, where it's really, really unique, really special, and I feel honored to have it in my collection. And the artwork is beautiful, and it's also different than a lot of the artwork that we see out there. Like, I love this image. It's so beautiful. It just pulls on your heartstrings, and I have to say, the first few pulls I did, I was crying with what I received for messages from the cards. I mean, just brought to tears in a really lovely way, but a very vulnerable way, because this deck is so gentle and understanding of those times when we feel alone, rejected, isolated, sad, depressed, lost. This is just a deck that's there to hold space for that. And sometimes it's just so nice to have someone acknowledge how we feel instead of try to move us through something so that they can feel more comfortable around us, right? And this deck is not going to try to move you through. It's just going to hold space for you. It's going to be loving towards you. I'm going to show you every card in the deck. I don't normally do that. I really, really love it. Now, that being said, I don't use it like I would a traditional divinatory deck. There's the final card there. And I let me double check the spreads here. So she has a Celtic cross, a triple insight. I don't use it as a divination deck. You certainly can. She does have a path card, the Seeker's Journey Through Solitude, which is an 11 card spread. And that looks like one that could be really beautiful and unique. I don't look at it as a traditional divinatory deck. I look at it more as a guide, a support, and a sharer of wisdom and understanding and knowing. So I would say, if you are wondering how you're going to use it, to me it's more of a deck that's holding a space, being compassionate, offering affirmation, offering wisdom. I use it more as a daily draw deck, and as I said, as a blessing deck at the end of a reading where it feels appropriate for clients who are going through very difficult times. So that is the way in which I use this deck. I have not to this date felt like it works for divination or as a clarifier, but I do have it out. And like I said, when I feel called to, I do offer a final blessing for the client or the querent, or an offer of support, either for myself or the querent, when it feels right. So it's a very intuitive deck in that you're probably not going to use it constantly unless you're going through a very difficult time. But you're going to know, you're going to be prompted when it's time to use it. So as I said, much like the Weaver's Oracle or the Fairy Tale Oracle, while I don't use these decks every day, I can't imagine my collection without them. So I really encourage you, if you're on the fence, I think it's a purchase that's worth it. This deck was gifted to me by a lovely friend. But when last I checked, I believe the deck was like $18 on Amazon. So it's not an overly expensive purchase for the most part. I think it's well worth the investment. And if the imagery calls to you especially, you're gonna get a lot out of this deck. So I highly recommend this deck. I think it's a wonderful deck. I actually have it out on my upstairs altar right now. And if you're going through a dark time or a hard time right now, this deck can really be a friend for you. And the wisdom within it, the compassion within it, the gentleness of it, it's shocking. It shocks you like how little sometimes we experience that in our lives. And to have a deck offer that just feels like a really, really special gift. So I highly recommend this deck if you're on the fence in regards to purchasing it, or if you're just in general considering purchasing it. But I hope you are all doing well out there in the world. I am sending you guys so much love and many blessings. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.